So this is just going to be a simple start to finish tutorial utilizing our TC360 data. So just to go through settings real quick so you can copy or verify, this is what I've got going. One thing that I just have temporarily set is going to be the link values to be pretty loose. And then from there to cloud, max iterations I bumped way down, import density or max density 3, just to let the auto cloud-to-cloud registration go a little bit quicker. So, and ultimately the import just to go a little bit quicker. So other than that, I will be changing those values back to some different settings later on. So those are it. Now just going to go bring into, create a new job, then go bring in the data sets. So we'll call this training simple. And so now we'll go bring over this structure deflection analysis, be my semi-simple data set tutorial. So after you drag and drop, it's going to freeze up your File Explorer for a second. Once you see them loaded in, then you can minimize. So these are all black and white scans and setups, so there's no images, so leaving this on isn't going to do anything. But really what you want to make sure is that you have these options turned off, especially when you're importing raw laser scan data. If you're bringing in like an E57 from an already registered data set, then you might want to do the pre-registered so it keeps it all as is and keeps in any coordinate systems that were applied to it. But for this one, since it's from scratch, I'm just going to leave images off just to make sure the import goes a bit quicker. And then from there, a couple things you notice. Left-hand side panel is going to be your settings, so you can see the bundle. And you drag this out, then you can see all the setups. If you want, you can also delete links, and you can turn off and on specific setups that you don't want to import or bundles that you don't want to import. So you have options there. Then the attachments, these are all different targets that I had while scanning the field, utilizing Field 360 to go apply a target. So Register automatically imports and creates those targets during the import stage. And there's no control import because I'm not using that georeferenced workflow. So other than that, I am ready to import, and I will bring you back once that is complete. Alright, so now that this job has finished importing, you'll see all the setups, information for links created, and then you'll start to see your point cloud. So a couple things right off the bat. Since there was all these crosslinks already created in Field 360, and it looks like there must have just been one or two links that had some issues or weren't perfectly aligned. Therefore, Register just kept them as joined and locked. So if you ever see a solid blue line, that just means that the software had nothing to do with that link, and it's completely manual. In other words, you never want to see a solid blue line for normal data sets and registrations. So with this, I'll just go into visual alignment and just get this guy verified, adjusted. And so with that, it's just a lot of, I guess the process of this is off a little bit more. But what you want to do is you want to come in, find some kind of corner, get that corner aligned. So left click is going to be your pan area, or you move it, and then your right click is going to be your pan, and then zoom in and out with the cursor. So now that I got that corner lined right here, I want to use this with my rotate. I want to use that for my kind of anchor point. So this just takes a little bit of practice, but just make sure that you keep your left click enabled and held the entire time and don't let go. So what you want to do, instead of just like rotating just about this pilaster face, while it looks like this might be decently close, if I zoom out, you're going to see it's actually rotated out quite a ways from where it should be. So whenever you do this, you always want to like zoom out and then zoom into somewhere further away from your pick point, rotate point, just so you know that you got a really good alignment. And so the further you drag this from your click point, the more kind of fine-tuning you have. And so if you want to really get it, slow it down, if you hold Alt on the keyboard, it'll slow your mouse down to 10%. It really lets you get it just right. So once I'm happy, then I just let go. And at this point, top down, it's aligned, it's rotated correctly. And now I just need to go and double check the elevation. So definitely this looks like this is what the problem was. It just came in at the wrong elevation. So now I'll just set that again with my pan tool or move cloud tool. And then with that, I'm happy. So now join and optimize. So that was a good link. And now it should optimize the rest of the bundle and hopefully clear up some of those bad links that were created during that import. If not, we'll proceed to fixing them. Perfect. So now I got all greens, just a good visual indicator that our registration is overall pretty good. So what I want to do is just go quickly gut check with my true slicer. So select your bundle, select your true slicer then, and at this point, what you're looking at is a slice through the point cloud. So default, it's going to be the z-axis. And so what these two sliders do at the bottom is the left one's going to be your thickness. Generally, I like to pull it mostly to the left, just so I got a decently thin slice to look at. If you go all the way, it's only like a 1/4 inch deep or so. But just be careful because then it just gets hard to see the point cloud. But you can also hit plus or minus on the keyboard, and that'll increase your point size or decrease to make it a little bit easier to see. So we'll pull it mostly to the left. And then your slice location slider, this is just simply going to move it through the point cloud, depending on which axis is active. So in this case, Z. So it's just going to be my Z up and down through the point cloud. You can also, with your cursor just hovered over the slider, you can just scroll and it will very finely move it through the point cloud as well. So you can kind of see it moving here, but we'll zoom in. So you can see it's moving very slowly. And so now our top down, we'll go back into X and Y, or Z I mean. It's back into our top down ortho view. So really what I'm looking for right here is I just want to gut check, look at like columns or areas that the point cloud has a lot of overlap from a lot of setups. So as long as I see like one continuous face and I'm not seeing like duplicates or like 2-3 lines for one face of the column, and at that point, it's a pretty good indicator that my registration is tight, accurate, and no issues. So again, just want to do a couple spot checks kind of at different corners, different areas, just to make sure again you have one single line, one single face. And so that's good for the top down, nothing wrong there. And then do the exact same for one of the elevation views. So X or Y, looking at an elevation view. So just looking at your slab, or you can go in and look at your, in this case, the slab on metal deck above. You can go and look at the corrugations and just see kind of how stuff looks. So there's our steel, but it's looking good. No issues there whatsoever. Okay, so now we did a quick gut check of the registration, fixed that one bad link that was causing issues. And so now kind of a key thing to look at and understand is just going to be your global error and your cloud-to-cloud errors. So with the bundle selected, might be in defaulted to the basic view, but I'd prefer it to be in the advanced view like you see here, just have a little bit more information. And so when you have all of these cross links for one setup linked into multiple, and that's kind of typical for all your setups, what matters most is going to be your global error. That's basically just telling you, all right, how much did it need to shift the setup or the link between setups to best fit to the rest of the point cloud. So as long as your global error is close to 0, generally your average, I think for the most part, as long as it's less than 0.005 or a 1/16 of an inch, it's pretty good, again, indication that you don't have anything weird going on, no issues. But in this case, where average is basically 0, only a couple links to have above that, and then your cloud-to-cloud is just going to be strictly the relationship between setup A, setup B, and what that value is. So cloud-to-cloud, it's not going to be the default, or at least when it optimizes all of your setups together, it's going to use the globally optimized. So that makes sure that you have an overall accurate registration and all your setups agree with one another. So in this case, all the linking is more or less done, but say you didn't use the Field 360 and you used the Viz tracking to create links, or on the iPad with Field 360 you only did like a single link between setups. So in that case, you want to go and auto add links. So you can just come in here and multi-select, hold Shift or Control, select 2 setups, and then you can go right into visual alignment. Visual alignment is going to be your primary tool. There's different means of alignment, but we'll get into those in different training videos. So kind of just like I showed you before, it's just a matter of coming in, finding a corner, and then getting it aligned, and then about that corner, about that alignment point, then that's where you rotate. So in this scenario, my registrations are already good, so I'm not going to move anything. But if you wanted to, you can just come right in here, make sure everything looks good, side view, nothing weird going on, and just join and optimize right away. So you can quickly go through all that. And then this optimized bundle, it's going to do this after every link creation. You can turn that off in the settings, but generally I just like to leave it on because I typically will use the auto add links feature within Register. So once that's done, I'll kind of show you that. So it added a link, but overall bundle still is the same, nothing really changed. But say I did want to go in and add a bunch of links or auto add a bunch of links to saving me that time. So again, this is kind of where you're going to come in, change cloud to cloud, change your links, and these link error creation criteria. So with the links, generally when you want it to auto add links, you want it to only add good links. So my cloud to cloud error, I will do, let's just call it 0.025, about 5/16 of an inch. And then overlap, we'll just leave it at 20%. Cloud to cloud, max iterations, I'm just going to temporarily change this to maybe 20. And then max point density, I'm going to keep a pretty small value to keep this going fast. And then we'll let that and see how that works. So apply, okay. And so now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go right click on our bundle. Once register and freeze this for me. So we're going to go right click on our bundle. We're going to go show suggested links. Actually, there's one setting I need to change, forgot to show. In the links tab, there's a maximum suggested links per bundle. So in this case, we'll just do 20. Okay. Actually, I might have to close and reopen register to get that apply. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, links. We'll just change that back to 20. Apply. Interesting. Let's try 15. Okay, well, let's open the job back up. The minimum number of links you can have it auto add is 50 at a time. If you try to do a number less than that, it's going to always default back to the previous value, which is what we were seeing just a second ago. So I'll just leave it at 50. Okay, so now got all my correct settings, right click, show suggested links, and now it's going to go highlight 50 links that are prime candidates to go on auto add links. So once you select one of those white links, you can just go straight into visual alignment for that one link. But in this case, I'm going to go let it try to auto add all of those white dashed visible links. So we'll let that chug through, and then it'll give us a little dialog box saying how many links it added. That met the criteria that we provided from our overlap, our cloud to cloud error, and then as long as it hit those within the max iterations settings. So this is generally the fastest way to go and auto add links or add a bunch of links. So this is pretty small data set in comparison, but you can change it to 50, 100, 200 at a time. Just the more links you do at once, the longer it's going to take. Generally speaking, I like to do it in small batches, so 50 or 100, and then let it crank the first round. Okay, maybe it added 80 out of 100. Then you can do it again and see if it adds any more after that. Because you'll kind of see once it's done optimizing, a lot of the links were kind of right here where setups are really close together. And now if I zoom back out and kind of re-show the suggested links, you might see a few more spread out across the bundle. So that's kind of the benefit of doing it in batches, smaller batches, is you'll kind of see your link network grow throughout the area. So there's 48 that it added. I'll go show suggested again. So now you're going to see a few more kind of branching out past those initial ones in the middle. So again, it's just a matter of add suggested links. And as long as it's meeting the criteria, it's going to go through and add all those. So I'll just cancel that. Might still add a few links from where I left off, but we'll see. Okay. So now, in that scenario, it's not going to change a whole lot with our bundle and our project overall accuracy, just because the registration was already as good as really is probably going to get. So again, I just want to go and gut check, turn off my links. Just want to gut check to make sure there's nothing weird going on with my registration, making sure that a couple pot spots looks nice and clean, which it does here. So again, no concerns, no worries about the accuracy of this registration being off. So looks perfect to me. So at this point, we've did our registration and we don't want our bundle or our setups to move. So I'm going to go lock it. So now you're going to see the dashed blue line. So when you lock it, it's not going to allow you to change your relationship between any of these setups. The point cloud can move in space when you apply control, but it's going to move the point cloud as a whole, this bundle as a whole, to wherever it needs to in space to match your control. So now, kind of the next stage is going to be control, georeferencing, since that's going to happen on most every single data set you process for our workflows. So in this job or this project, we have a bunch of these black and white target cards that are 3D printed, stuck everywhere. And so with those, let's see, there should have been a handful of them auto-extracted during the import, which you'll see here. Right now in Register 360 2025 version, there's something weird with the auto-extraction side that it's not always the most accurate. And it also comes in and gives smart labels kind of in a weird way. But in any case, we'll just go into a setup cloud. We'll go into one of these, and we're going to go into this edit target option. So this only works when you're in the setup cloud view, and sometimes, yep, it's not going to extract the best. So good news is I've got about 80 setups that have different control points brought in. So it's just going to be a matter of going into a few different ones, trying and seeing which ones we can get to auto extract ourselves. Let's try to zoom in a little bit further. Okay, we'll just keep going down the list. Trying more. And when you're applying control, you need a minimum 3 points within the bundle. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it wants to extract any of these. So within my bundle, I should have a handful of targets already created. Let's just see how many we got. Keep that on. Okay, so here's all the points that auto extracted. It's up in the northwest corner of the site. We'll just use that for this scenario, which I know will be perfectly fine. But again, I've got control points all throughout, and this is just a known bug within Register 2025. You're using older versions, or hopefully when the new version gets released, that auto extraction feature is fixed, because usually it's just you click anywhere on the target and it's instantly finding the center of said black and white target. So at this point, we've got our point cloud, it's registered. We have a handful of control points acquired and assigned. Now we need to go assign coordinates to those points. And so that is just a matter of importing in a text control file. And so with that, I've got a pre-built control file, which I'll bring in here. I'm gonna go master control list. So it's just dragging and dropping the text file. Again, another known bug of Register 2025 is it's going to import the default import value should be point ID, then northing Y value, then easting elevation, and then any kind of comment. While that still comes in that way, it scales the points. So that being said, we have to go import control by rule, change the units to meter, and then go verify that my coordinates are all correct. So now that it's label, northing, easting elevation, and it's coming in correctly. So even though it's units and meter, these are actually the international feed values. So import that as control, import, no setups, and then now let's go and double check control point list. So within the left-hand panel, you got your setups, selection tree, you got attachments, georeference stuff, then you got this control list control file. So this is the master control. This is for the whole job. So we got about 200 points, all with unique labels, unique locations in space. So even though we only have 4 points, when we go to right click on our bundle, apply control, it's going to go search through that list. Okay, it found matches. Do you want to apply and update labels? Yes. So now you're going to see, turn on my control. So you're going to see the 4 points that it found and extracted. And then once you select on that within your apply control, that's how you're going to go see and verify, okay, what are my 3D tolerances to those control points, those target cards? What are my error vectors? And if you need to, you can change weighted values. You can turn them off and on, reapply control. But you always have to have at minimum 3 points applied in this workflow. If you're using setups over a known point with a height of instrument, workflow, you can get away with two points or 2 control points, but we really don't use that in our workflows. So in any case, I'll reapply that. Cool. So now I have a registration that's accurate, that is georeference tied to control. And so now it's basically just getting ready to clean the project up for export. So just like kind of similar that we have to go in the setup cloud view to go and edit targets. If you want to edit points for the bundle as a whole, you have to be in bundle cloud view. You can delete points for a singular setup. So what that looks like, if I just go select one of these setups in setup cloud view and say I just want to go and get rid of this. Anytime you delete points, you're going to have options to delete inside or outside your fence, your store inside or outside, and you have visual and cloud to cloud. Cloud to cloud are strictly what the software sees and utilizes for registration. Visual is what gets exported out into your different point cloud formats after the fact. Since this point, our registration is done. We're not affecting. We don't need to change anything. So really all I care about is visual, and I'll just do delete inside. So now those points are gone. You're going to see that little square cut out. If you want to go, that was from the setup cloud view, but you can also do it from the 3D cloud. But with the fence tool, hit this little drop down. You have a few different options, circle and polygon. For the most part, I'm going to be using polygon just to quickly click, drop a handful of points, close my loop, and then again, delete inside. So now, but that's just for a single setup. I want to do it for my bundle as a whole. So, right, if I had some, we're down in the basement for this scan, so there's really no noise or stuff outside the job that I don't need. But there was some puddles of water kind of sitting down below the point cloud. So that, let's go change coloring quick just to make it a little easier to see. So all of these red points, those are all reflections. I really just need kind of this bright yellow. That's going to be the range. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go draw a fence, keeping just above my slab on metal deck, cutting just below my slab. It's all one elevation. And then from there, I want to delete outside. Again, just visual is all I care about. So this is how you manually clean up points. There is also a detect moving objects and find surface features, or find flat, smooth surfaces, flat surfaces that you can then filter off of. In 2025 version, detect moving objects is broken. Doesn't work. It'll just crash your application. So if you're in other versions, it still works perfectly fine, and it does an amazing job of picking up people and moving objects within your data set. So definitely it's something we run on nearly every single project before we go and export. It's just in this scenario, again, 2025, that is actively broken. So with the point cloud, so here's what we're exporting, or here's what we have ready to export. And at this point, that's kind of the basics of importing, registration, tying into control, georeferencing, and then clean the point cloud. So now, time for exporting. Now it's just a matter of going through your Finalize tab. You're going to see kind of, this is going to go into the report. You can turn stuff off and on. Just going to take a little snapshot. So first, little accept more or less takes a screenshot for the report. Big accept lets you move on. Just make sure you only click that once. Be a little bit slow to load and move on to the next step. But if you click it twice, it's going to immediately go into the publish, which you now see there. So just make sure you only click once and just give it a second. With my settings, I have the report showing up after I hit generate or publish, so that's why this is blank for now. But you can fill all this out if needed, if that's what you need for registration report stuff. Publish options, so we have the workflow options, we have everything included, but we typically will do LGSX. Let's just go save somewhere. Training. Okay. LGSX will always export. We also do E57 as one file, but then we also make sure to change it to a structured format since we bring it into platforms such as Trimble Connect, Cintu Cloud, and ACC. And then we also just do RCP Cloud. So RCP Cloud is just going to be, there'll still be an RCP file, but then within the support folder is the singular RCS file. If you want to do setups, if you have images, you just got to make sure you turn on the setups. RCPs and especially RCP with setups is the slowest export option. It is orders of magnitude longer compared to E57 and LGSX files, and LAS for that matter. We just don't use LAS a whole lot. So keep that in mind, but E57s, LGSs, they're very quick to export. And then if we did have imagery or color imagery, we could apply vivid colors. It just does like a color balancing, evens out the colorization of the point cloud, makes it much more consistent looking, and honestly, it just looks much better at the end of the day. Since we did black and white, no images, we don't have that option. If you want, you can also decimate.
or subsample, depending on which file format, if it's structured or unstructured. So if you wanted to, you could subsample. You got a whole list of options. Reduce point cloud, again, decimation, keeping points only every quarter inch, O2. But for now, I'll just leave that alone. If you wanted to, you can also select specific setups to export if you don't have them broken out into sitemaps. And then if you have limit boxes or section boxes saved, you can publish those as well. So, but that's really the last step, and it's just hitting publish and letting it crank. So that's a pretty straightforward, simple process, start to finish. Didn't go into the weeds a whole lot about different tools, different workflows. Really simplified, and which honestly is the majority of data sets that we process via RTC data and the Field 360 app. So even if you don't cross-link a whole bunch like we did on this initial project, it's super easy to go auto-add links, as many as you need, see fit, until you get the accuracy of the registration up to whatever you're happy with. So yeah, other than that, pretty basic, pretty simple, and I'll have a few other kind of training tutorials on a little more in-depth, more tools, all the different options, tips and tricks and whatnot. But this is just meant to be a simplified, start to finish, kind of show basics of what it takes to go process raw data to ultimately exporting into your desired file format with geolocation coordinates and all that. So hopefully that helps. Otherwise, be on the lookout for the next video, and we'll see you on the next.